Hi, welcome to yet another exciting episode at Speak Up Afrika. And today we want to talk about data and how this contributes to how elections span out in African democracies, but especially in Kenya. Now, the reality is elections are not just a one-time event in Kenya. They are data-driven periods where democracies and how governance is done are determined. And with me today is Daniel Kibet. He has served in winning teams, and today we want to understand how did data truly contribute to that. Daniel, it's an absolute honor to have you here today.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you so much.
I don't know if things have changed for you personally since we won and where we are right now. I know we have conversations of 2-term, 1-term, must go, must stay. We are doing prayers and all that, but introduce yourself to my audience.
Thank you so much. My name is Daniel Kibet, technologist, developer, data analyst. I tried to say data analyst, but I'm more of a data scientist because I do a lot of modeling. But I'll stick to the data analyst. I've worked with numerous parties from Jubilee, UDA, consulted for a couple of clients. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So we start with the votes primarily, a form of data that is used to influence how the results of the elections will be.
Yeah.
And most of the times we've seen in the past general elections, once the results are out, no, they stole from us and whatnot.
Yeah.
How much does data influence how elections turn out in Kenya?
It does a lot to a large extent because basically it determines how you campaign, how much resources you'll put in, where you'll put the resources, and what strategy you'll imply. Data started a while back. We started using data a while back. If you remember, during Moi's time, you used to hear there was something known as special branch. What special branch used to do is collection of data for Moi. So Moi used to collect data from the village person, consume that data, also consume data from NIS. And if you remember I don't know if you were born 1992, 1997.
Gen Z for life.
Yes, so 1992, 1997, a lot of data was used to determine how the election would be strategized. For example, like 1997, Moi saw that if he vies alone with Mwai Kibaki, he might not win. So he sent emissaries to Raila Odinga to make him vie, which made Moi win with 40% against Mwai Kibaki, who had, I think, 25%, and then Raila Odinga 11%.
Mm-hmm.
If that combined, they will have won. In 1992, the same thing. So basically, data is used to determine how we'll vote based on different variables that we'll discuss in the course of the podcast.
You see, data analysis is your forte, it's your stronghold.
Yeah.
But what exactly is this information that is collected specifically from a voter?
Yeah. So if you look from a voter register, the basic data that is collected is name. That is first name, second name, last name, phone number, date of birth, constituency, ward, county. That is the basic voter register.
Mm-hmm.
But from the political party of view, we always normally go down and narrow and get other data like the economic data, the population data, the transaction data at times, depending on which side you're relying. At times you can go and get the tribes data, the age data and all that. So once we get that data, we start disseminating and distributing accordingly. So when strategizing for a particular client or particular candidate, we always segment based on those variables. Basically, age, gender, tribe, population, profession. Those are the particular most important variables that we use in analyzing.
And those are key demographics that people could look at. I was having a conversation with another friend of mine, and they were saying, even as we get towards the general elections in 2027, there's a very keen interest that politicians should have with people who are about 16 to be safe, because then they will be eligible voters when it gets to 2027. Fundamental question, who owns the data that voters put out and parties are able to collect?
Ideally, IBC is the one who is responsible to store that data. Parties are not ideally responsible to hold that data unless it's their register, it's their party register. But in developed countries like US, they're allowed to list data from the electoral body. So here, we navigate our own ways, being pollsters or data analysts, to gather data on the behalf of the party.
What are the ways, Dan? What are the ways? Because I mean, we've had conversations where
Yes.
people say
Yeah.
we have multinational companies that give out people's information, and during that electioneering period, very many SMSs, pigia mwanachama sijui what not. And the question is then, how did they obtain our phone numbers and access to us? So what are the ways that in Kenya politicians get access to us?
I'll give an example of 2017, since it's in the public domain. 2017, we were using Cambridge Analytica in conjunction with us to do data analytics. So Cambridge Analytica is a very multinational company that collects data in different ways, from buying, from getting it from dark web, deep web, from mining data from your social media accounts. Because every time you type something, there's a metadata that goes and stored in different servers. So that data can be sold by these different companies. I remember
Is that
Google,
legal?
It's not legal, because even Google was sued. I think they were supposed to pay, was it $1 trillion or something? So that data they sell to companies like Cambridge Analytica. So Cambridge Analytica, by the time they're coming to us, they can give us that particular data. So they even give sensitive data like credit cards, your transaction, what you Google, what you like, which bar you like visiting. So that particular data, once we are given, is given to us, now we can be able to segment and analyze Wendy as a person and give targeted message to Wendy as a person. That will help us, like Ruto or like Raila or like Matiang'i.
Or the party or the candidate they have. Interesting you bring that up, because with the introduction of AI, a simple AI tool like ChatGPT, that we even have a free version of, people are using it even as a form of therapy. And what you're doing is you're feeding it with even your most vital of informations, And I remember there's a period, someone who is an AI coach was saying, what you're doing by feeding in all your information is you are now the product. Because what will happen when now there's introduction of like adverts, it is your information that you have willingly given out that will be used against you. So this information that we put out and some communities about, some organizations do buy. So what is the future of it having the introduction of technological features like AI?
Generally, in politics, we used it actually before, because AI is, people always believe it's like a big shark in the ocean, but it's not really a big shark in the ocean. AI is just modeling, coming up with predictive models that will help you predict the future. So like in 2022, we did use a lot of those AI models to come up with predictive analysis and predictive models. But key thing that will help in any is social media targeting. That is the key thing that will be used in 2027 election, whereby I've told you, like, for example, that data that we are given, now we can narrow down to Wendy as a person. Know that Wendy likes eating pizza. So what we'll do is, once we want Wendy to like our candidate, we'll send targeted messages using TikTok, Twitter, to ensure that we tell Wendy that we'll bring Pizza Hut from US to Kenya by giving Pizza Hut incentives. Or maybe we'll reduce the price of wheat to ensure that pizza is accessible to you. So we'll be sending targeted messages specifically, since we understand Wendy as a person. Another thing is the chatbots that are coming on board. So that will it can be able to capture sentiments that are either positive or negative for our candidate. So once that is captured, we can always automate that process, whereby you don't need Wendy or Kibet to sit down to reply to every messages that is being posted on Twitter about Kibet or about Ruto. So we automate that process so that every message that is touching Ruto or touching Raila or touching Kibet can be replied automatically.
Okay. In this technological era, so much information is being given out. And you see, the user is always the weakest link. And I like what you're saying, because it's just what you put out there that is used to catch you or even against you. So what are some of the most key informations from a voter that form how you collect your data and the strategies that now you put. Of course, right now, almost everybody, and especially the younger generation, is a lifestyle content creator. So their life is put out from when they wake up to when they go to sleep. But what is it that is most fundamental when people are looking for data to help them get ahead of time with elections?
I'll start with the less basic one to the more complicated one. The less basic one is always the profession side, whereby we capture the data for particular professions. For example, we have the farmers' data, we have the teachers' data. So it will help us to come up with targeted messages for professionals. I remember in UDA, we used to do a lot of town hall meetings for professionals. We did one for teachers, we did one for doctors. So those data we help us to be able to navigate and understand and come up with targeted messages for our client when they're going to pitch to those professionals. The most important one that has always cut across since time immemorial is always tribe. Tribe, even now, it will play a factor in 2027, like it or not. I know the Gen Z factor is something that people are considering. I'm trying to dispute it because from trend, the age 18 to 24 since 2007 has always been 10% in the voter register, shockingly. So I also predict it will be the same. The Gen Zs, so those who are coming from high school, transiting to 18 years, 18 to 24 will be 10%. I don't see it change a lot. And shockingly, also above 18 to 35 is 39%.
Then I think we are more empowered. We are more enlightened.
Yeah.
I mean, I will agree with you to some extent that this generation or this age group has previously not really been involved in politics and the political processes and electoral processes. But I think since July 2024, we've seen a change. Now, this is the thing. The desire and the hope is that we will carry the fire to the ballot. But I can take you on that there will be a big difference.
I tend to dispute because the Orengos, the Jirongos, the Railas in the 90s, they were in that age bracket. And in that age bracket also, things have not changed. Voter turnout in 1992 was 70%, 18 to 24 was 10%, 18 to 35 was 39%, above 35 has always been 60%. The trend has always been the same. Like we've always been having a normal curve. In statistics, we call it a normal curve. And at that time, they were the people. And that time, there was serious uprising. I remember it was after multi-party, or is it before multi-party? So there was serious uprising. Same thing that is happening right now. So I don't see that trend much changing. If it does, it will shock me. Because in analysis, you always look at trend. So that's help you to come up with the predictive model. I understand the serious, people are woke. That's the word, people are woke. But based on the trend, because us, like even when you sit down with the candidate, we always give factual figures, like it or not, this is how the situation is. I remember there's a time we did a poll. Was it for Kisumu? And our candidate had 3% at that time. And we told him, we have 3%, and the only thing you need to do is this, and this. Good thing he was someone who used to listen at that time. And he took our advice positively, implemented. At least we got 18% in Kisumu.
So it's accurate to say that the trends and the patterns that you collect from the data actually do work?
If you collect sufficient data. Data is, I can collect one or two variables, and yet for me to get particular model to be effective, like 95% effective, because in statistics, you only allowed 5% marginal error. So if you have something that is above 5%, then that model is not that sufficient or that predictable or that effective. So you need something that will give you a 5% marginal error. That implies you've collected enough data or sufficient data to give you that model that is perfect. So if you have enough data, it will give you proper predictive patterns.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then data actually does influence how political mind games are played.
Yes.
Allow me to say that.
Yeah.
And eventually how the results come out after elections.
Yeah.
So it begs the question, how far do politicians and political parties go to have access to this data?
Good question. Luckily, I've never worked with any party that has not been in government. So for how far, it always implies that it's based on network, resources, and power. For us, I remember in 2017, we were working with Cambridge Analytica. So getting data was so easy for us. They have data globally. They have data that even I personally have never encountered, like transactional data, social media data, different metadata they have. So for us in 2017, it was easier. 2022 was easy, but we are kind of in the opposition side, but also we managed to have data here and there because of network. So it's always based on power, resources, and network. So for candidates who don't have money, accessing certain data will be so difficult because it's costly. Normally, you'll get one entry of data, or like one row of data, you'll be charged 1 shilling. Voter register is 22 million rows or 22 million people. That is, on a rough estimate, on a minimum 22 million. So someone who cannot afford 22 million cannot get a basic voter register. And a basic voter register is not even sufficient to give you a proper model. So resources is key thing in how far a party or a candidate can go in accessing data. Power, definite. If you're dealing with an incumbent will get any data that is within this country than someone who is in the opposition. Yeah.
A conversation we've had before sitting here today that in African democracies, we glorify politicians, not understanding that the people of the country who occupy the highest office, which is the office of the people, actually do have power over them. And as you're speaking, I'm thinking they will go to any extent to access the money, to access the networks that bring the power, for them to be able to get the data, then to influence their structures. So let's talk about how people can even get into debt, to just digress a bit, because all this will influence how they will get the data and how they will even manipulate the data, because during electioneering periods, people just send you messages. People just try and send you emails. And it's just a lot happening in the technological space regarding data. But let's talk about slightly how people maybe even get to that. Let's not call them people. Politicians.
Yeah.
What are some of the trends you've seen them getting into, like trying to access finances and power, just to be able to align what you've just mentioned?
A good example to explain that is I have a couple of MCA friends that I've encountered with. And even currently, there's one I'm talking to. And one question I always ask them is there a return on investment in what you're getting into? Because an MCA will get maximum 320,000 a month. That is if he doesn't have any loans. And that is basic, actually. That one is gross. So they'll go to an extent of borrowing from friends, auctioning their house or putting their house as collateral to raise the financing. But really, there's no return on investment. Because then the perception that is out there is I will get into maybe the county assembly, I'll be given a tender, I will do this, and this. But things are changing. There's very minimal projects that are happening in the country currently. So as an MCA who got into power, having in mind that he or she will be given a tender, there's no tender that is coming. So now he's being auctioned, maybe. Or maybe the friends are now on his or her neck in regards to the loan that they gave to him or her. So I've seen a lot of how those people go into, especially I always advise an MCA, if you're getting into power or getting into a position, let it be for passion, not for making money. Because the return on investment for a member of county assembly is zero. They don't have any fund that they control. Them, particularly their legislators, representative, and oversight.
Interesting, because that also trickles down to mental health issues. And last month, was it? We had the month of June, we were celebrating or we were commemorating mental health amongst men. And you see people who get into office, we still have a bit of issues with gender equality, especially in political spaces. Therefore, the men are more, and therefore they are more prone to succumb to such pressures. and just it keeps on spiraling. Let us go back to the change the Gen Zs are bringing. I want to appreciate, because at first I was really battling this idea, but now I appreciate that whatever the Gen Zs are doing now with the maandamanos and Anguka Nayo is not a new thing in the political scene. I think you've said it accurately that every generation has had an uprising youth that have fronted and fought the government and wanted change. The only difference could be that we are in a time where there's technology and it's a powerful tool that is being used. And that's why we had buddies, we had KFC. And I think the only thing that could be different is the vibe. All right. And in a long period of time, this was a time where people united. Now we are saying we are leaderless, we are tribeless, we are borderless. I am getting to that. But the question is, do you think now data is more important and will overpower, for example, rallies? How primarily politicians would go to the ground and connect with the voters?
Let me start by answering a bit of what you are stating. It's an advice, actually. I always tell people election is not an event. Election is a process. And what the Gen Zs are doing is they're making it to be an event, not a process. Ideally, if they were really serious in making change or making the change count, they should have, for example, like the appointment of the IBC commissioners, they should have vouched for one of their person to be there. Because management of votes is quite important, that even the casting of votes. That process of management is where things happen. A lot of things happen between that process. Like, for example, Azimio lost the election because of they didn't manage their votes properly. Like, you'll see most of their polling stations didn't have agents and all that. That was a management issue.
So is that where the votes were stolen?
They were not stolen, really. But if they were stolen or not, I cannot tell.
But that is the place.
But ideally, the management part is where they lost it. That's where they lost it. Because even at the Supreme Court, they were unable to prove these 15 polling stations that they mentioned. Because most of them that they mentioned didn't have agents. Back to your question, sorry. Yes, data helps or it's not powerful than rallies, but it actually helps in determining where to conduct a rally, where to do social media targeting, where to do door-to-door, and where to do town hall. Basically, you don't, like where there's more 18 to 24-year-old, I don't need to do a rally. I'll do a TikTok live or an X live. Where there's 35 plus in Funyula, I will not do a TikTok live or I'll not do social media targeting. I'll need to go there
to the ground.
So data really helps, but it's way above the rallies. It's just a complementary of the rallies.
Great. Yeah. Before the cameras were rolling, we were saying the youth need to do more.
Yeah.
And I like how you've put it. Yeah. Elections are not just an event, it's a process. Yeah. So from where you sit, what are some of the things that the youth of this country can get more involved in to be ahead of the game in 2027, or at least be at par with how things will go on during the electioneering period?
I remember last year's Mandamano, I attended a couple of hackathons and bootcamps for tech guys. And there are serious tools that these guys came up with of monitoring election, recruiting of volunteers, and all that. That is one thing that will really help in this election that is coming. Because I can't say, because election is either you have resources or your resources or the tech that you have is way above your opponent. So in this case, we are not at the table, so we need to up our game. So what we need to is come up with tech solutions that are way beyond what is existing in these other generations. Also, we need to be woke and we stop ranting a lot. I've seen a lot of ranting that happen in social media rather than solutions.
Bonge ikutoke. Dan, sisi tunasema bonge ikutoke.
A lot of ranting. No, I don't have an issue with anything, like any particular topic, but there's a lot of ranting that happens. As at last year, there was a lot of solutions that were being promised, or being implemented, or being developed. this year I'm not seeing solutions being developed. A lot of ranting is happening, a lot of victimization, a lot of attacking on people who are taking sides. I mean, if I'm taking this side or this side, it's my personal decision. I mean, I need to put something on the table. So if someone decides to take a side, we should not lose focus and start attacking him, because that's what is happening.
When they are taking the side that you can clearly see is not doing us justice.
Yeah.
So we get upset because why are you losing? It's like you're giving up on the system. You're giving we gave up on the system.
Yeah.
You're giving up on the fight to change the system, which is what we are saying. Dana will not allow you because come on, let's focus. We are all going this way. You know, in previous regimes we've had, we are going to Canaan, and we never go to Canaan.
As I've said, I'm not seeing any positive solution that is happening from the Gen Z side. I understand they will do serious voter registration, but I've told you, election happens at the management point. That's when you determine who will win and who will lose. Because it's either you have resources, number one, or you're able to really manage that vote properly. From the point of the polling station to the point it will come to Bomas of Kenya.
Then you see how I'm contributing to this good cause and a cause of changes. For example, having this podcast where we bring you conversations that will inform, will engage, and enlighten you. And what this primarily is civic education, which most people should engage in. I want to bring your thoughts to this. When Gen Zs say, when we are going to the ballots in 2027, it doesn't matter how much you have, how prepared you are for the elections in terms of monetary value. We want ideologies, and with that, we will vote you in. Now, there's a conversation I had, and a friend of mine said, let's not mix issues here. There is campaign language and strategies, and then there's governance language and strategies. And he told us that you can spend the whole night, saying how you'll go into government and change things. But if you don't tell Kenyans what they want to hear during campaign, which is tutaleta barabara, tutabadilisha masomo, how true should that be? Not true, but should we carry that on to the next generations? Then I mean, you could have very good ideologies. We should elect you because we believe in what you will execute. Touch on that.
I think as a generation, we are moving too fast beyond our time. We have not yet grown to that level of ideologies. And that is something you will see in come 2027. A lot of these young leaders like MCAs, MPs, there'll be more independent candidates who now ideologies will pick. At the governor, presidential level, I don't think ideologies will play such a bigger role. It will, because, for example, when we do analytics, we put weightages. I don't think when I'm putting my weightages on the parameters, I will put ideologies as the biggest weight. I'll put tribe, I'll put age, I'll put gender, I'll put a professional, and then I'll put ideology as a last parameter. I don't think ideologies will play, because if it's ideologies, I think Gen Zs will have narrowed down to a particular candidate as at now.
Don't you think it's too soon?
I don't think it's too soon. I've seen them attacking a couple of leaders who have good ideas. And so I don't think ideologies will play. I don't think it will play. It will play at a smaller role, maybe give it like 20%, but at least as a country, we are growing to that level, to a level of like US. US at least. But also it narrows down to, are you a Democrat or a Republican in US at the end of the day?
Okay.
Yeah.
Then are we safe with our data out there? We have a lot of conversations going on in the country right now about data privacy and protection.
Yeah.
And ethically, all this information is being used for us and against us, with leaders who are protecting their interests and positioning themselves for roles of leadership.
Yeah.
How much is too much information for us to just share, having stayed a long period of time in the data world and understanding what data safety is?
I think safety starts with an individual. If you're safe, yes. For us, I'm a certified data commissioner by the Data Protection Office. So if I have your data, I'll ensure that data, I handle it ethically. For other people, like the other CSPs, that's why you're mentioning, you're getting messages. But at least Safaricom in that regards, they have be able to curb that problem by ensuring that before I send you a message, I have to ask you, can I send you a message first?
But during Maandamanos, the Gen Zs were arguing that they were the biggest sellouts because how did the Subaru guys get the numbers to go collect them?
Let me answer the data side and then I'll answer that.
Thank you.
The data side, Safaricom, what they've done is initially what we used to do when we're registering send IDs as a CSP. CSP is content service provider. You could be able to just register send ID, for example, Wendy. And then when I'm sending a bulk SMS, I don't need to request your permission as a recipient to receive my message. Now, if I'm registering as a CSP or a send ID for a particular politician, I need to, number one, provide the database that I'll be using. And then once I've done that, the first message I'm sending is not his message. It's for me to request you as Wendy to be sending you messages. Once you accept, because there's that termination code that you get, star something, stop. If you want to stop, dial this. If you look at most of your bulk SMS, you'll see something of the sort.
You know, I'm really trying to think. Yeah. I think how it works is they send you the message and then you have the option to stop. I don't know if I've ever experienced.
Right now, for political, for companies and marketing, they're allowed to do that. For politicians, you have to send the database to Safaricom to approve. Number two, send the recipients to either do the termination of that action or accept. If they leave it, then it implies that you've accepted those messages.
I hope you've gotten that because that's really brilliant. Yeah. Then there's no need for us to stop and then to start and then stop. So actually from the get-go, you're requested if they should actually send you messages.
Yes, that's the first
Fantastic.
Message.
All right.
On the side of House Baru guys, I don't know on the issues of tracking. But I don't think Safaricom played a bigger role. There are very many issues, very many ways of tracking someone. The biggest, or the most common one is triangulation. And triangulation even does not require Safaricom portals or Safaricom servers. Triangulation, there are cell towers. Actually, even now, there are virtual cell towers here. So what the officers use is the virtual cell towers to triangulate your location. Yes.
So with the authorization of one to use their data, there's something you mentioned earlier, and even now it has come to mind that it's important for someone to consent for their information or their data to be used elsewhere or otherwise.
Yeah.
Is it something that we are practicing currently in Kenya? And I would want you to take us through some of the steps that we should be looking out for. I think earlier I was even explaining a scenario to you where they were asking for collection of data. And I think the more I've had these conversations, even here at Speak Up Afrika, the more I've been more knowledgeable, and that has given me more enlightenment and more power to even say no. Because, for example, even the building we're at right now, once you walk in, like they need identification. So you're giving your ID, then you're giving your phone number, then you're giving your email address. And there's no place that we are intentionally consenting or not consenting for that data to be used. So I can imagine in the grand scheme of things, even as voters, our information is out there. So the truth is, there's only too much we can do to how much they can do with that information. But we can start by enlightening ourselves. How much information should we give? And what should we be looking out for as red flags that I don't think I should be giving this information here and then?
According to the Data Protection Act, ideally, someone, if he or she collects your data, he needs to ask your permission before he or she sends to third party. By that, he needs to give you a consent form, whereby you'll sign detailing how they are planning to use your data, even if they're giving it to a third party. If you find out that they have sent your data to a third party and it has been used against your wishes, you can comfortably file a legal suit against them. Number two, your data needs to be handled by a data officer. If that organization is requesting data from you, it needs to have a data officer that is certified by the Data Protection Office. If they don't have one, they don't they have zero business of collecting any data.
Mhm.
Because when anything happens, the data protection will come from the data officer or data commissioner. So if that company does not have any data officer in their premise, they don't need to collect your name. Number 3, if you have CSPs that are collecting data and then selling to third parties, you can sue them comfortably. If you narrow down to a particular CSP and you know this CSP is the one that is ensuring that I'm getting this bulk SMS, then you can comfortably sue them.
Dan, just hold it there.
Yeah.
Because we've mentioned some parties, politicians actually do get, or even organizations, companies get to buy this information. And I think I mentioned it, and I want us to go back there briefly, that even the voters' registers, this information, who is the primary custodian of it?
The primary custodian is IBC.
Are they mandated to share it out?
No.
So if registers are being sold, and I think in African democracies, and Kenya particular, we have ideal situations and then we have what is happening on the ground. So if a voter today would file a suit and say, I think my information came from the voter register that I used or I registered on in 2017, will the law work against IBC?
The key challenge legally will be how will you prove it came from IBC? Because ideally what I require as a CSP, that is content service provider, from any data is your phone number or maybe your first name. Because ideally at times when you get a message, you'll be, hi Wendy, blah, 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 blah. I'll just need your phone number. But your phone number, you have uploaded it in different websites.
I mean, almost everywhere you go to.
Even at the gate, you have done, I think this building, I've not been asked my number. I've just been asked my ID. That's okay.
No, you actually did.
I was asked my ID.
You when you were logging in here, you must have keyed in your number.
No, I just gave my ID and that's all.
Not at the gate. At the lobby here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, it's the key challenge will be proving that data came from IBC. That will be the key challenge, because I just require number, name, which you upload in different. Even today, I'm very sure in one of the websites that you have logged in, you have done your name and your phone number. But if you sue, for sure. But I don't think you want to go into legal battle with IBC right now, unless
because
you are very
next?
serious that data, or very certain that data came from IBC. That's when you can do a legal battle with them.
Sometimes it's really sad that the systems are broken and it's we, the people, who are actually the most vulnerable, you know? So right now, people are positioning themselves for 2027. Those who will make it through will. But as a data analyst, the part of the works that you do, what are some of the information that is being collected now? Because we are about 3 years out. So how are people positioning themselves? What are the patterns they're looking at? What are the trends they're looking at?
I think from what I've been analyzing is the countries or the candidates are more focused on the dialogue. Because from the dialogue, I think that's when they'll get the analysis of how the voting pattern will look like in 2027. But generally from previous election, as I've told you, different segment of people have different analytical point of view. Like, for example, if I'm dealing with 18 to 24 years old, there's a different analytical aspect I look from. 35 and above, there's a different analytical aspect. If I'm looking for Kikuyus have a different analytical aspect. But for example, right now for tribes, which I've told you will play the biggest part in our election, I think it will be more interesting to see how the Mount Kenya votes will take charge.
Dan, you know, Gen Zs are saying 2027, us guys are...
Non-tribal, but it's 10%. It has always been 10%.
So why do you insist that this will be a fundamental element to the results of the elections? And we are telling you, we are leaderless, we are tribeless, we are, you know, but you're actually not the first person. I've been in rooms where people are saying, until we cut the tribal lanes that we have in our political game, 2027 will be no different.
It will be
and
tribal.
I'm seeing you're really inclining towards that. So Why don't you believe in the change that the youngings are bringing?
Me now, I don't speak from analogies or of illusions. I speak from data point. I've told you from 1992, the trend has always been 18-24, 10%. 25 to 34, 29%. 35 and above, 60%. It has not changed ever in all election. I'm not seeing any change from this. Even like, for example, census. Census has always been a normal curve. The average age has always been 19. It has never changed since we started collecting data about census. So I don't see even this voter register changing in 2027, unless magic happens.
But are you giving room for
Yes, we are.
Some shock?
Yes, for sure. There's always outliers.
Then you see this same data and you analysts. Let's talk about Raila Amolo Odinga. And I know you've highlighted a few things that might have been an oversight on their end. But I know and I believe he had a team that had data analysts and they were giving him facts on the ground and figures. And at some point, for some of our candidates, we have been so sure that they will win the elections until we went to the ballot and then the results came out saying something else. So should we be trusting the data that is being collected and is being transmitted?
In terms of the voter transmission?
Yes.
Yes, for sure. But as I said, the Gen Zs are not serious because I'll say about 2022, if we were not careful, our team was almost losing because a lot happened in terms of compromising our systems, trying to clone our system to look like IBC and so on. So in terms of voter transmission, if the Gen Zs don't take charge and be part of either direct at IBC or a senior agent somewhere, trusting is very relative for them. I don't know. Maybe for me, I trusted the voter transmission because I was part of the process. So I was seeing what is happening real time. So if you guys are not part of that system or somewhere whereby you'll be maybe in Bomas to do the voter transmission counting and all that, I don't know what to say about you guys if you'll trust or not.
So the influence will be very minimal the numbers.
Quite minimal.
Great. AI is here. It's the new you and I. We cannot fight it. But I appreciate what you had stated earlier, that it's not a big shark in the waters. And interesting that you mentioned even before the wave that has come now, you had tools which are AI tools that were there and that you are already using. But I guess right now there's so much information and it's almost like a sensation that AI is here. And that will carry on to the general elections. What do you think are some of the changes, limiting factors or beneficial factors that technological enhancement with AI especially will bring with the general elections in 2027 in terms of data?
2027, any party that will use the AI tools effectively, both the simple tools from the ChatGPT to the Canvas to now complex one that will do sentimental analysis, automation of the responses, autobots and all that, will win the election. Because ideally, it will be able to ease their work. Because, for example, I'll give you an example like sentimental analysis. Sentimental analysis is quite tedious task. Because ideally, like, for example, right now, Twitter, I'm 100% sure there are like 100,000 tweets about William Ruto. 100,000 tweets about Raila Odinga. So if you're not able to query all those tweets real time, you cannot really get what is being said in Nyamira about Raila Odinga. But if you develop a tool that will be able to capture those sentiments real time, feed auto response on the back end that will respond those tools, then you'll lose a couple of votes in the long run. So the tools for sentimental analysis will help in automating or dealing with people who dwell in the social media. The one for predictive analysis will be able to deal with predicting where are we getting these votes, how much votes are we getting, and what we need to do in a particular area to increase our popularity or increase our candidate popularity or increase our votes.
Okay. We're coming to the tail end of the conversation. very fundamental issues you've raised. If we are not part of the processes, then forget about the results.
I agree.
This one specifically, I want you to give your parting shot to the Gen Zs with a hope that they will bring the change. And you not buying to the dreams, but buying and working with the numbers. How can we be more proactive? How can we stay timely and relevant as you give your parting shots?
From the first Mandamano, that was last year, said there are a couple of solutions that were there. In most boot camps, hackathons that I attended, I need those solutions to be revived and put into action. They were put into the briefcases. Can they be removed and put into the action? Number 2, try so hard to stop ranting and start coming up with solutions. Number 3, come rain, come sunshine, eventually you guys will have a leader. Kindly choose a leader as at now, so that that leader gets a direction. Start grooming that leader start penetrating. If it's resources, you start mobilizing, and then now forming up a team. Because ideally, if you wait till 2027 to get a leader, it will be too late. A party secretariat can take a year to form, so that you can come up with a proper team that is effective. It can take even a year. So if you don't form up a proper secretariat as at now, and know that we are pushing this leader, it will be too late, and it will be quite tedious for you to push your candidate so that he can win.
And that is bound to bring a lot of chaos.
Yes.
Daniel, thank you so much for coming and sharing insights with us. And I believe we shall implement and peak. And that is why here at Speak Up Afrika, we continue having conversations that inform you, engage with you, and empower you. I was your speaker and your host for today. No, actually, Dan was our speaker. I was your host this episode. My name is Wendy Loyce. For now, I will love you and leave you and see you next week in our other episode. Kwaheri.